What's up, everyone? Pags here at MEI Studio. This week, we're looking at an active ribbon mic that was inspired by a television studio microphone designed to handle the sound of gunshots. Yep, that's odd, and this is the Aea Ku5A. RCA began making ribbon microphones back in the 1930s and continued all the way up until the mid-1970s. Their designs were as imaginative as they were ingenious. Since most ribbons are typically figure-8 patterns, RCA figured out clever ways to get directionality from their mics. By building complex mazes of tubes filled with shaggy English cow hair, RCA was able to delay sound hitting the back of the ribbon to cause cancellation, and directionality was achieved. Since every cow is a little different, each mic sounded a little different as well. And I wish I was making this up. These designs were found in the early 77 mics from RCA and carried forward to other models. The 1950s saw the rise of television, and higher fidelity FM radio broadcasts were beginning to take over the airwaves. With these advancements in media, new tools of the trade were invented to take advantage of the improved sound delivery. With westerns dominating the television landscape and loud, in-your-face DJs on radio, RCA saw an opportunity to bring that familiar ribbon sound to a new generation, but needed to figure out one little problem. Ribbons hate high SPLs. They went to work around 1955 and released the BK5A. The BK5A was a unique design with its small end-address ribbon motor, exhibiting a cardioid pattern below 5K. Above 5K, the pickup pattern got a little wider and spread out a little bit more, but this was actually helpful in helping to filter out some of the stage rumble in the TV and live stage scene. The proximity effect the mic exhibited was dubbed as the voice of God, as it seemed to make voices sound better than what they were on their own. Artists all over took to the mic instantly. Huge names of the time, like Frank Sinatra, Perry Como, Judy Garland, Ella Fitzgerald, were all seen and heard using it on television and radio. Television studios in particular took to it for yet another reason. The mic could handle ridiculous SPLs and still sound good thanks to its blast chamber, which protected the element from loud sounds. Westerns in particular, with gunfights in every episode, could now use these microphones without fear of damaging the ribbon element. In case you're wondering, the sounds were rarely used for the actual broadcast, as most gunfire sounds like firecrackers than massive cannon sounds that we've all come to expect from even the smallest of caliber on screen. Foley for the win. The directionality also solved an issue of having sound that was in view of the camera being picked up more than sounds in other places in the scene, allowing for cleaner takes and less post-production cleanup. DJs at the time, like the syndicated sensation Wolfman Jack, took to the microphone as he could yell and howl into the mic and still have it sound great on air. The mic added a little extra boom to his voice thanks to the proximity effect, which gave him his signature sound. The mic was updated later on to the BK5B. While the mics looked almost identical, there were slight modifications to the construction internally that allowed the mic to pick up an even wider frequency range than its predecessor. Fast forward to the 70s and 80s, and RCA was out of the microphone game entirely. Wes Dooley at AEA had taken over the servicing of RCA mics, and as there were still tons of these mics in use, business was busy. Since Wes was so familiar with the mics and had already started making replacement parts to fix the more damaged patients, he was able to start recreating part-for-part replicas of RCA mics under the AEA name. After putting out 44 recreations for a while, the company started putting out their own original mic designs like the R88, Nuvo N22, R84, etc. AEA began looking at some of the other mics of the past and updating the design and materials. The BK5's form factor was a great look, but NHK in Japan, via the Toshiba company, yes, the same company that makes all sorts of consumer electronics now, had copied the design of the BK5 and arguably improved upon it with their Toshiba Model H. AEA kind of combined the two into what they now call the KU5A, but only kinda. So why did they decide to call the new mic a KU instead of a BK, in keeping with the RCA names? Aea had released a recreation of the KU4 almost 10 years earlier than the KU5 came out, and both of those mics are very different. Josh at Aea had answered this question by saying, quote, "Internally, the KU5A is entirely its own design. It utilizes a dual-path labyrinth that has never been used in a production mic design." End quote. Additionally, the original BK5s were all very unique in their sound qualities. Getting a matched pair of these would be very difficult to say the least, as every one of them sounds completely different. But not the case with the KU5A, as AEA's QC, from my experience, is pretty darn good. I really wanted to find some internal shots of the mic to show what's going on with this labyrinth design, but it seems no one is too keen on breaking one apart, and honestly, neither am I. However, if we look at what's inside an RCA 77, we can kind of get an idea of the principles at work. A series of tubes that snakes around the inside of the body and act as an elongated path to the rear of the mic. Well, the ribbon, actually. This offset arrival time causes cancellation at the ribbon, giving the microphone its directionality. Electro Voice does something similar with their variable D technology, which keeps the off-axis coloration to a minimum. Shotgun microphones do something similar, but in front of the diaphragm to give extreme directionality. The mic features a low-cut switch, which is activated by a small push button on the back side of the mic. I will say that it is kind of hard to push in. I can't get my finger to push that button in all the way, so you do need something kind of pointy to get in there and push it. It's a passive 6 dB per octave cut at an oddly specific 283 Hz. That's a little higher than I would have had set, but it is what it is. While the ribbon can handle pretty high SPLs at 135 dB, the ribbon is still susceptible to being damaged by heavy puffs of air, which is why it's not recommended to be used near the porthole of a kick drum. While AEA says that vocalists aren't in danger of destroying the ribbon, I know of one person that wound up damaging a KU5A by putting it too close to a way too loud guitar cabinet. I'm not one to take chances, and rather than have a giant pop filter in front of the mic, I developed this guy. Yet another invention of mine that'll never see production, and I actually have quite a few. It's a pop filter that just pressure fits onto the end of the KU5A and uses some of that filter material for fish tanks and a fine brass mesh screen. I did another version that uses nylon on the front and back of the filter material. It was this or pay $50 for a foam windscreen that fits the end of this, and honestly, $50 for a piece of foam? Not happening on my watch. Anyway, the mic does require phantom power, and as we heard before, the buffer is really only used to stabilize the impedance and allow the mic to work with any preamp. It's not used for added gain. The high sensitivity compared with passive ribbons comes from the use of a custom-made amorphous core transformer with a ridiculously high 1 to 110 turns ratio. This provides 12 dB clean gain and is not capable of driving the output directly, which is why we need that active buffer in there. If I had to point out one negative about the mic, besides its $1,500 price tag, it's the attached cable. I would have rather have seen an implementation that of what Shure used on the SM7 line, or an XLR directly on the body of the mic somewhere. The attached cable makes storage a real pain in the rear, and of course, the cable is never the right size. So you're either having to add on to it, or you're left with feet of unneeded coiled waste. Our RCA mic had a similar thing, which we just cut off and left a small pigtail that we connect when we're using it. Other than that though, this mic really is just a champ. We're going to take the mic into the studio and put it in a few places. We're going to put it up on piano, which I've never done before, so I'm kind of excited to see how that goes. Electric guitar, upright bass, snare drum, and on trumpet in a live setting. We had a local jazz group in a while back that we filmed and used the KU5 for the trumpet. We're going to show a couple things with this. First, how it sounds on brass, and second, how much bleed the mic picks up from things off to the side and behind. It was a quintet. There's drums, bass, guitar, piano, and of course the horn, with the horn player also singing. With some great players, gonna get to hear some cool music there. Let's get to it. Before we get into the studio again, I've been using this mic for the entirety of the narration of this video. It's just been out of frame. Let's take a quick minute to just put it through its paces with some spoken word with no post-production so you can hear what it sounds like on its own. First, I'm going to do some plosives without the little filter on the end of it here. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peanutses pronto. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peanutses pronto. Simple Simon said something stupid. This is the KU5A 6 inches from my mouth. And this is the KU5A with me really close on it. This is me close to the mic with the low cut disengaged. This is me close to the mic with the low cut engaged. And this is how it sounds with the filter on. This is the mic 0 degrees on axis. This is the KU5A 90 degrees off axis. This is the KU5A 180 degrees off axis. And back around to 0 degrees on axis.
just right for some kissing. And I mean to kiss me a few. All those girls don't know what they're missing. I've got a lot of living to do. And there's wine already for tasting. And there's Cadillacs all shiny and new. Gotta move, cause time is a-wasting. There's such a lot of living to do. There's music to play, places to go and people to see. Everything for you and me. Life's a ball, if only you know it. And it's all just waiting for you. You're alive, so come on and show it. There's such a lot of living to do.
This is my go-to mic for horns, brass or woodwind, with the last mic we looked at, the Sennheiser 441, a very close second on that. Was this more or less what you expected from a ribbon mic? To me, it definitely doesn't have that darker ribbon sound. In fact, the only other ribbon I think I've ever heard that gets more top end than this one is the Home HRP1. For electric guitar, this is probably mic number 2 behind another ribbon mic, the Royer 121. And it's going to be hard to ever really beat that for me. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Did you love it, hate it, want it? Wouldn't never give it a second look? Let's chat about it. One last note, we're coming up on our 40th mic locker video, not counting the shorts and the bench tip videos. And we're also closing in on 1,000 subs. I'm thinking those 2 milestones will happen probably around the same time if things stay somewhat consistent. When it does, I'm thinking we're going to do something special. Maybe another giveaway. I'm running out of room for all of these mics, so look for that soon, and please spread the word. You guys have been great and so supportive of the channel. I really appreciate it. As always, if you've gotten anything from today's video, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you're interested in studio mics and other things audio related, hit that notify button so you'll be notified when we put up a new video. If you have any suggestions for a video or any questions regarding this one, again, please use that comment section or send us a message through our website. I'd love to hear from you. Well, that's it for this time. This is Pags, signing off.